Firstly, to say, unfortunately, I won't be able to stay for the whole of this session, but there is a good reason, and it ties in with this topic. There's a special celebration tonight for Doreen Lawrence, and you'll all know the significance of that name and what she's achieved. And obviously it's very important to be there, so I'm going to have to leave a bit early. But she was involved, in fact, in helping to set up a national civil rights movement, the NCRM, some years ago now, in the 1990s. It's lost its impetus because, again, it's down to a few individuals to keep it alive, and they're run threadbare pretty well, although its actual movement was incredible for the years that it existed. The object of it was, and I'm really saying you don't want this again, although it's important, is a bigger role for a new movement. What it was doing was attempting, in a sense, to get civic society, all those people, unfortunately, who were victims of abuse. That means abuse by authority, abuse by the police, right the way, the whole spectrum, so it wasn't just the obvious examples, who normally would struggle and fight in isolation, and they needed a feeling of collectivity, solidarity, they needed to know the way forward, they needed to know the questions to ask. And so we came together in meetings of this size throughout the United Kingdom, and so that provided a base of confidence which hadn't existed before, or if it did, it was very fragmented. So it performed an excellent role, but since then it's been overtaken by other things. It's still around, it's still functioning, but not in the same way. But I think the importance of a national movement, which again, I want to come back to the question that was asked just before the break and bring that in as well, the tension between universality and locality. Because at the end of the day, when I say, this has got to start at a local base, because the people's needs in different communities aren't always exactly the same, but there is a thread, there is a commonality between communities throughout the world. There is a commonality about humanity. It's a bit glib to say it, but that's important. And we heard in the first half about the need for values, because it's no use us sitting here without a sense of direction. And I think we all know what the problems are. We may describe them in different ways, but we're actually wanting to achieve certain basic principles. And the reason why another movement, perhaps one doesn't call it national, one might call it pan or some other word, because once it goes national, people get disembodied and feel it doesn't belong to them. But you need a movement which is able to distill, and I think this is the next stage for the Occupy movement. It's shown it can take action. It's shown that it can impinge on public perceptions. It's done all that, that's fantastic. Now it's got to build on it. What it's got to do is be able to say, these are the values. It's not, we don't want this, it's this is what we do want. Let's take one that I think pervades the old movement, the civil rights movement, what they all want, what the Hillsborough families wanted, what the families in Iran wanted, what the families in Palestine wanted, and the main thing they want is accountability. And with accountability comes, the need for truth to be told before you can get the accountability. So the two go hand in hand. And as I think Martin Luther King said, you can't have peace without justice. Well, it's another way of saying the same thing. So basically, you've got to sort out a set of values that's going to be attractive and is necessary and is an integral part of our lives, so that it doesn't matter whether you're going to South America or Malaysia or anywhere else, people understand that because they feel a sense of identity once they're being given the chance of acquiring accountability, a sense of identity, a sense of responsibility, not just for themselves, but the environment in which they live, in which we all live, because the environment in South America, the rainforests and so on, affects all of us. So it's the indivisibility of these basic concepts. Now, I've only just started out on the road and I'm just talking about it now, but it's not difficult to contrive that. And I would like to propose practically, out of these meetings, and there's many more to come, I think, in this coming week, that there is, if you like, a bringing together of people to talk about what are the values that they really treasure the most. What matters to you in your actual political existence, P, small p. And once you've, as it were, sorted out the priorities and the values that you stand for, and you communicate, and this is where e-communication is important. These are values that can be communicated very quickly to other communities in other parts of not only the United Kingdom, the world. You get feedback into not the structure at this point, but the value system that's going to underlie everything. Because without the value system, it can all go off in different directions. And I think that's where you get the problems about what kind of democracy and all the rest of it. If you're talking about direct accountability over the environment in which you live, being one of them, the others tend to flow quite naturally. So it is, and it shouldn't, again, I have to say this, having looked at many examples, the question asked before, should we have a constitution? I'm a little anxious about more written documents that are constructs. It's about a statement of intent, a statement of values, a statement of intent. I mean, getting agreement, you can probably guess from today, there are many diverse views here, and I want to credit Occupy, Melanie and Edwina and everyone, for bringing us all here today to have this discussion, because I think it's extremely important. But you can see that everybody feels strongly. That's point number one, to get a bit of passion back into politics so that it matters to you, again with a small p, what happens, and that you can play a part. Most people I meet feel, what part can I play? That's why the younger generation are disenchanted. They don't feel it connects with them at all. Now, I'm trying to persuade them not to get disengaged, but to get engaged with a different kind of future. And if we provide that vision through the values that we agree, and it's done in a consensual way, it should not take the rest of our lifetimes to do that. Occupy has really blossomed in a very short space of time to get to the stage we're at where we can be talking about this. So I think that's what I see as the next basis for having a movement which is concerned with civil rights. But I might call it something else. Again, I'm anxious that labels don't restrict and inhibit discussion because people get upset about how things are defined. So really it's about a process of agreement, and I've just given you a taster of what I think can happen. Thanks.